So welcome, everybody. We're at top of the hour. Tim will hop in here in a second, my co-host. This is Feedback Friday, and every Friday, we take a look at people's resumes, portfolios, and critique them. We invite you up to the stage to talk more about them and give us a little bit more context of what your goals are. So feel free, if that sounds appetizing to you, paste your portfolio resume in the chat. The queue is currently up to 4, I think, and we normally get through like I want to say 6 or 7 on most days. So we're hitting the end of the list. But if you feel like dropping one in there and trying to get added last second, feel free to hop in. We do this every Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And a caveat for you, everything is currently being live streamed on YouTube, which is great in the sense that one has the ability to go back and take a look at things at a later time, but the consequence is everything is recorded and published to the greater world, right? So if you want to take a look at a resume, for example, and want to add a resume, note that anything on there that's sensitive will be shared, like your phone number, for example, if that's on your resume. And that's more or less the story of Feedback Friday. I see a couple more ads to the chat. Let me add those to the list real fast. Am I missing somebody? Ebony, then Aryan. Tim, you can't join the stage? I can invite you, surely. Oh, where'd you go? You're gone. My co-host having technical difficulties. Cool. Well, while Tim is getting that underway, let's go ahead and get started. Inigozepeda. If you're out there somewhere, go ahead and raise your hand if you're able. Tim, I can invite you to speak. And then Inigo, I can invite you to speak as well. Tim, good morning.
Good morning. This is a new thing. I don't know where all the Discord controls are. But so it is. So it is. Move this around. How's everyone doing this morning? Nate, I actually just had the chance to meet someone. And it was Ramit. I just met Ramit in real life. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, R.
Yeah.
No way.
No, like seriously.
Hey, I've got all kinds of things I want to talk about, Tim. Hello, Inigo. Welcome, by the way. Invite you up on stage. Oh. Tim, I'm so sorry to cut you off on your story there. I want to also talk about Figma Schema. So if you feel like hanging out afterward for a couple of minutes, I've got some thoughts on Figma Schema. Mostly disappointment, though.
Okay. Well, I guess we're here for disappointment or not disappointment. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Inigo, welcome. Glad you could join us, man. How are you?
Hey, Nate. Hey, Tim. I'm doing great. And you guys? I'm excited for this session.
Yeah, doing well, man. Doing well. We have not chatted before, I don't believe. I think this is your first time?
Well, I entered last week, but I entered like when it started, so I couldn't get the time to get my portfolio reviewed. So that's why today I entered a bit earlier to have the possibility to have it reviewed. But yeah, it's my second time checking in these Feedback Fridays.
Nice. Very cool. Okay, great. Let's see. Let me pull up my notes. Tim, do you feel like starting and doing some basic housekeeping? No, we already did housekeeping. Doing some general intro.
Yeah. So if you'll go ahead and share a little bit about our goal today is to provide you some actual feedback. We want our feedback to be collaborative. And so we don't do roast, you'll notice, but we do want to provide insight that might help you with some of your goals. So we'll need to know some context about you. If you can share a little bit about who you are, what kind of design you do, and then what your goals might be. Goals meaning, are you looking to go freelance work? Are you trying to do full-time work? That sort of goal type thing. And that'll help us figure out what kind of feedback to focus on.
Perfect. Yeah, thank. Well, basically, a bit of context of my design work. I started in UX in 2020 in the pandemics because me and my brother, we did digital menus for restaurants, like with QR codes. So from there, I started getting more into the UX industry. After that, I got an internship at Oracle, and I entered Oracle then for 6 months as full-time after the internship. And then I moved to a Web3, like blockchain startup, where it was a very different environment since I was the only UX designer there, rather than in Oracle, where it's a whole very big teams. And now, I don't know, I just haven't, I kind of haven't enjoyed much the blockchain industry and being the only designer, and I kind of want to, it's also all remote, so I kind of want to go back to some of these like big tech companies, and that's why I updated my portfolio, which is the one that you can see right now. I used to have an older one, which I don't think it was that good, but this one my goal is to apply to one of these tech companies, and I coded the website with on Next.js because I'm also, well, I started software engineering, but I moved more into the design. But I also enjoy like coding. I also used a lot of help from Claude to help me with the coding, and the works that I included there. I used to do a lot of hackathons of mainly blockchain, but also of other areas. So the works that I included there are, the first one is a hackathon entry. Then it's a Carta Online, that is the company that I told you, where I did digital menus. Then, well, the Oracle one, it's on like password protected, and I have it on Notion. I'm still going to migrate it to my website here. And the one from the company that I'm at, which is called Puffer Finance, I also have it on Notion, so I'm migrating it. And after that, I have like the achievements of some hackathons, and then a bit about myself. So yeah, kind of what I want is first like a general overview of how you look the portfolio, but I think more in depth is like for example the first case study, which is the one that I've put more effort into. If you could kind of review that one, so maybe that's a bit more priority. But yeah, I don't know if it was confusing or not.
So for recapping a little bit, you are currently working as a UX designer for blockchain.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Previously, you were working at Oracle.
Yeah.
And your current position is nothing's necessarily wrong working with blockchain, but you would like maybe some upgrades. And the upgrades that you're looking for would include a more holistic team environment where you're maybe in person, or at least not remote, and maybe a topic change from blockchain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's good recap.
Very cool. All right. Well, I'm right with you. I had pretty cool experience. So there are different types of feedback we can give. We can do mostly visual feedback. We can do content feedback. We can focus on your landing page. We can also focus on a case study, but we won't have time to do all of these. And so I think as I'm scanning here, I'm just going to go on a limb here. And I do think that your visual design is probably adequate and solid. So we can focus a little bit more on the content. Nate, should we focus a little bit on the content of this landing page, or do you want to spend most of your time on the case study today?
I'd be down to spend most of the time on the case study. The landing page itself looks fine. Like it's solving all the problems that I think it needs to solve for. It's introducing himself accurately. The value prop could potentially use tweak, but like either way, I think he's doing all the things correctly. Now it's just iteration and testing. So if it
Yeah.
works for you, Inigo, I'd love to spend more time looking at your case study.
Perfect. Thanks.
My,
Yeah. Also, that carousel, I have to fix it because it should. The idea is that it moves infinitely, but yeah, that's a one problem that I have to work on. That one that
Yeah,
you're
I was
seeing.
gonna say my only feedback so far on this page is the framing of a couple of different things, which is you do more about myself, and then you have a subheader that just says learn more about myself. Whereas this would introduce more about myself, and then you would say something about yourself. So I think you can give a little bit of a lead here. You can say what is something about yourself besides just a second header, and then you could probably put this read more CTA underneath this carousel here, so you can make this carousel supporting the more about yourself rather than an appendage or separation. But that's just a difference of opinion about that content. That's like small, super small carrots. I do think CTAs at the bottom when you have something like this that's like let's connect. I think this is a bad CTA. Unless connecting really is your goal, and also this goes nowhere. This is a 404
Yeah.
page.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
So that
Yeah.
might be worth updating here. If this is a link, you may need to add the mail, like the mail prefix to it, so it goes the right way. Just keep that in mind. If you're trying to go for corporate, which it sounds like you're trying to get a corporate role, not necessarily a freelance role. I don't think a corporate employer is gonna want to email you right away. You may need to rethink this bottom section, but overall, this is great. Very good. So let's go ahead and jump into your first case study here. Oh, also, congratulations. This is something I check for most people. Your headings are all in order though. You have your headings right, which is great.
Thanks.
Phenomenal, dude. It's like small things that just, it's amazing.
I didn't notice, but it's good to know. That
Yeah, you don't have a schema though.
Oh, the sitemap?
No, schema is JSON schema. So it's like a type of, I can read right here, a type of microdata. Basically, it goes in the head of your body. So you just put it in there, the front of your head, and then it's a little bit about you. You can look it up. It's pretty cool. Jumping into your case study. Nate, is there somewhere you want to start?
Well, Inigo had mentioned he wants to take a look at the first case study. So we'll take a look at ST, if that's how one pronounces it.
Yeah, Estee Lauder, it's like so they hosted, well, they're like the makeup brand. So they hosted like an accessibility hackathon where you had to come up with ideas to make the shopping experience more accessible.
Nice. Cool. A shame, by the way, about your Oracle being password locked. How confident are you that it requires password protection?
Well, I'm not sure if it requires password protection.
He says he's migrating it still.
Oh, okay, cool. That's great. So I saw that you had worked on the Redwood design system at Oracle. Yeah. Design systems are so cool to talk about. Also, Tim, my biggest complaint about Figma Schema, the entirety was dedicated toward design systems and scaling systems, and I think they're doing a poor job, but we'll talk about that here in a bit. But I'd love to learn more about the Redwood design system. That's awesome. Looking at the case study, you're doing a lot of stuff here correctly, and I'm still scanning through to validate some of my assumptions here. But when I'm looking at case studies, I'm looking to answer three core questions. Question number one is, what's the problem you're trying to solve? Question number two is, how did you go about solving that problem? And question number three is, how did you validate that the problem was solved in some fashion? This is where you get into like metrics and measuring impact and outcomes and that sort. So what's the problem you're trying to solve? So if we take a look at the very top, you've got the problems and goals section. The only quandary I then have is most folk are not going to read your case study. You've got a lot of verbiage here, which is great. Now one's goal is, how can I translate this verbiage into a consumable, skimmable medium? And most of the time that looks like, how can I take this text and translate it into imagery? Now, whenever I say this, I'm always fearful that what people hear is, I want to take content off of my case study, and that's very much not what I mean. My goal now is to take the verbiage that you have, maintain it, and then find a way to visually embellish it in some fashion to where one, as one skims through your portfolio, it's still consumed quickly and readily. Most of the time that looks like turning it into imagery. Oftentimes it can look like just taking the content, making lists out of it, making the visual aesthetic slightly different in areas here and there. Now your goal is, how can you take the problem and goal section and narrate it in a way that's like, if one is skimming, they can very quickly see the problem statement of some kind. Tim, have you read this? What is the problem statement we're trying to solve here?
I think it's this first sentence here.
In-person shopping experiences are challenging for people with disabilities.
Is
The
that
physical
correct?
mental strain of navigating a store without being able to independently grab products can be overwhelming. Current makeup shopping experiences create barriers to true independence. Cool.
So when it comes,
I mean, this
when it comes
is great.
to when it comes to content feedback, you should also know that everyone's got a little bit of a different flavor. And so again, you can apply your feedback, but you also don't need to feel like, hopefully you don't feel like we're on your back about anything. We're just collaborating, ideating, working with you. I'm going to say, I do think that it's a little bit, I think when you're talking about like introducing your case study here, we're not seeing that problem fast enough. And we're definitely not seeing the solution or the impact fast enough. Like, this is a good overview. An inclusive in-store beauty shopping experience. This is like what Esther is, or Este is. But the problem is, I'm not here to buy Este. I'm here to buy you. I want to buy you. So like, I need to know more about your role, like your value on this. That's told through the story of this project, but I'm missing the you part here. And this is one reason that, like, it's good to frame like a problem, like Nate calls it, you call it like the why, what, how, or something like that, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. And so it's in this format of like, you should lead with a like a benefit, a problem, and a solution or an audience. This kind of helps kind of write the story about like, an example could be like improving beauty sales, right? Benefit, by, or improving beauty sales by this thing for, this group of people, right? So improving beauty sales for Estee Lauder for people with disabilities, right? So that just makes it a little more specific. Don't use that. I mean, you can if you want, you can, but that's like a first version. It's a rough sentence that I just said out of my mouth. So, but something of that nature, right? Then I'm also looking for a little bit of better framing here in your overview section. If you do an overview section, don't shoot yourself in the foot. Make sure you frame it as real as it is. Like, this is a real project. You did real work for this. When you frame things as, yeah, this is a hackathon project. Now it's just a hackathon project, instead of it being like, I'm solving a real problem. What I would do is, instead, is I would frame this as, we noticed this problem, we solved it, we validated this at a hackathon, and we're awarded something like this. We took really well or got really high praise. So instead of this making about like, we needed something for a hackathon, so we invented this thing and it worked well, what you can said is, we have a problem, we solved it, we validated it at a hackathon. And this helps, it kind of gives it better, more pomp and circumstance, without necessarily, it's a framing. It's just a framing of this thing. And then, this is my last thing I'm going to say before Nate will take the helm again. When you are leading in these title sections, it is often better to just give us the bit before making us read the bit. So if you want to say, instead of how to enhance accessibility in the customer shopping experience, just tell us the answer. So I would actually swap this. I'd put in-person shopping experiences are challenging for people with disabilities right here at the top. And then you're automatically telling me and informing me what you're solving for and what your problem is. More scannable, faster experience here. You may want to include in this first sentence, and afterwards then, you may want to say like, we wondered how to enhance the accessibility of customer shopping experience, right? You don't need to eliminate this question from it entirely, but I would definitely put the problem as the highlight here. I suspect it'll probably be true in most of these places, because leading with just that little bit of value in the front, if I'm scanning really quickly, which I am, I'm scanning, looking at your visuals, like, this is a sitemap. Yes, this does look like a sitemap, but if this was instead like benefit or value based, of like, mapping 500 pages through a state machine or something like that, where you're outlining the benefit a little bit more clearly in these headings, I will get that value faster and relate it back to you. Nate, what else do you got
Perfect.
here?
I want to is really important that Tim just stated. Tim just took your first sentence and made it your title. Can we apply that philosophy to all of your titles to tell that story? And I think the answer is yes. So check this out. We've already talked about the problem statement. Tim, scroll down to the next H title, competitive analysis. What if we were to remove the word competitive analysis and instead say we started by analyzing apps which had features and behaviors that could potentially implement in ELSA? That's already telling a greater story. Move on to the next section. User proto persona.
By the way, that's a little long.
I don't know that it is long because people are, it's slightly long, but people are skimming through it and they're only reading titles most of the time. So I am a big proponent of telling the story through your titles. User proto personas. Based on the information we researched, we created user personas. From our research, we synthesized 2 user personas, blah, blah, blah. All right, that one could use some tweaking if we were going to add some verbiage to replace the title proto personas. How are you feeling? We can continue on going through the sections, but if we were to utilize your titles to tell that story, I think you're going to kill the skimmability of this case study. How's that sounding so far?
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely makes sense because as you say, whenever you're looking, well, I say skimming, like a quick glance of the case study, it's important to like show in the quickest way and because they will see it very quickly what's like my value that I'm adding. So I agree with that. I have one
Tim,
question.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
When you mentioned about the impact, well, the problem is that on this hackathon, well, the problem is that they didn't really check all of the submissions. So we made a video, and on YouTube you see the views, and they didn't even look at the submission. But I really like I do think that it's a project that is worthy of being on my portfolio. So I'm not sure how can I put an impact when I'm not exactly sure, or should I try and, because it's not easy to get it on Estée Lauder, to implement the app. So how can I show the impact?
There's only one option. You have to start your own beauty company, and you have to build it up, and you have to try it, and then you have to make millions of dollars, and then you can finally put on your case study that you have a good impact. That's the only option.
Did you see the way Tim stealthily you were asking the question, and Tim is over here like, oh, the time has come to talk about measuring impact, talking about qualitative results. This is a question we get a lot, and we love talking about this question. And someday, Tim and I are going to make some content that talks more deeply about this question. Let's note one thing. You were in a hackathon, which means, how long was your hackathon? 1 day, 2 days?
Like 1 month.
Oh, wow. It's a long hackathon. Okay. Is that standard for hackathons nowadays? The hackathons I've been in they've been short.
Yeah, no, I have also been on weekend hackathons. So yeah, it varies. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Long hackathon. So with the hackathon comes additional constraint, typically the lack of ability to see the results and the lack of ability to publish afterwards. This is where we dive into measuring success through measuring user behavior change rather than the actual hard metrics associated with it. So for example, you are already using proto personas, and for the folk on the call who are unfamiliar with the category of proto personas are personas based on the assumptive target audience. These are not qualitative in the sense that we haven't done research on them. They're not quantitative in the sense that we don't have data on them. They are assumptive in the sense that we believe we know who the target audience is, and we're going to build personas based on that assumption with the ideology of testing afterwards and iterating. Now, hackathons don't have the ability to iterate and test afterward, but the motivation there is still accurate. So love that. We haven't talked about proto personas on here before. I love that you're using proto personas here. Advantages and disadvantages to all personas. So where the heck was I going with this? Proto personas have they are already assumptive in nature. So now if we assume that you're measuring impact should also in some fashion forced to be assumptive. Therefore, we can start stating what are the benefits and outcomes that a user is able to obtain by utilizing your product. So rather than saying, oh, we've increased conversion by X%, you can now state behavior change, like a person with this particular disability now has the ability. What was the problem you're trying to solve? Something about getting dressed? The shopping experience. So a person with this disability now has the ability to get the goods and services that they need. Like that is a qualifiable metric that you can now use to validate. And while it's assumptive, it's still a metric that validates success in some fashion. The goal here being knowing that you're measuring success and trying to validate success along the way implies that you have the paramount understanding that the goal or outcome changes and not like building UX processes. Process is never the goal. The goal is about creating outcomes. Tim, how you feeling about any of that? Any yes ands there?
Yes. So this is a problem that all designers come up against, which is this idea of we did a design. Does the design actually matter? And the thing is, this is what really separates senior designers and even product designers from UX designers and people who make things pretty. Making things pretty is only valuable when it's validated by ideas. Otherwise, it's just art. And although art is really cool and there's nothing wrong with making art, typically we're making work. And that work is a little bit different from just pure art for the sake of the art. For you, I think all of us as designers already know how to do this. We have this intuitive understanding that we're building these personas and we're saying, hey, there are these real problems. These problems are worth solving. But you need to go a little bit farther. And you can say like, yes, this person has actual frustrations, but like how quantifiable is this frustration? Is there a way for us to say, yes, this frustration, if we solved it, would be worth XYZ amount? And so you think about this, if Patricia and Zoe maybe represent, we're going to just play with some gentle numbers so it's easy. Let's say they represent 10% of a store's audience. And then you say, well, these people, 10% of the audience feels this frustration. And 10% of that audience, of the people who feel frustration, actually don't go to the stores because they experience this frustration so in depth. So this means that this problem that you're trying to solve could be 1% of the entire audience for this store. And therefore, this problem, solving this could be worth 1% of their revenue as a company annually, right? And so you're able to kind of make these connections and quantify it. It's always best to back this up with real data. So if you don't actually know all the information here, what you can do is research companies that are similar to this. You can look for case studies that talk about problems or people who solve this in a similar fashion. You can go look up trends and see like predictability wise, like where would this have done if I was able to solve this? How well would it have been received? And essentially what you're now doing is you're saying we did research, we understand the person, we understand the business, we understand the value of helping this person inside of this business, which will help the business. And therefore, this design decision has the power to move or be effectively worth this much plus maybe even new user acquisition, because now we're targeting a part of the market that's not even heard of. And so, maybe this is where solving this problem is worth 1% of the annual revenue of this company, plus another 25% from new user acquisition for people, because you're solving and now encroaching on other companies that don't have this solution as well. And so these are all ways to kind of think about your impact and your like the value. Don't lie. Like you should not go and say like, we actually quantifiably increased, this company's revenue by like $50 million, right? But you could say like design solutions like these are worth $50 million if your estimates can show that. And you can kind of talk about that in a way of like, if you frame it the correct way, you talk about solving for disability for this company addresses this amount of this audience. This amount of this audience is worth this much revenue. We're therefore designing for this much revenue inside of this company every year, and also targeting an industry worth this much revenue based on that same user profile. Does that kind of track so far?
Yep. Yeah, thanks. I also like when I was designing it, there's also a page called Good Maps where they implemented like a similar function where you could browse like through augmented reality while you were like you were in the store and you saw on your phone the directions like go left, go right to go to a certain item. So yeah, it's kind of similar to that what you're telling me. I put that, I think, in the impact that with them it worked, so it could also work with this. But I like how you went a bit more in depth. So it's like definitely a good suggestion that I'll add.
Sounds good. Well, I think that's probably some good feedback for you so far. Design wise, aesthetically, I think everything's in place. There's a couple sections that I look at and I kind of, for myself as well, there's a part of me that I'm like, yeah, that's mostly just the prettiness of it. And sometimes you just need pretty parts of a portfolio too. I would focus on maybe next thing is like Nate said, improving some of these headers. So they're a little bit more impact and value and kind of giving the lead right away. And then some of your framing to kind of focus on that actual like tangible real world aspect of it. So it's not just a hackathon project. This is actually like something that has real value, shows your strategy, your like acumen as a designer to one, identify real people, but then also say these real people are actually worth a lot of money to the business. And therefore you're appealing to both audiences of I want to help people, and helping these people that I focus on will also help a business. Therefore, you should hire me because I will help your people, which will help your business, which becomes a very strong narrative rather than someone who can just take good ideas, who can take ideas and make them look pretty. There is a couple places where your spacing's a little bit odd. You'll notice that for the most part, you have around a 160, and it looks like you have padding for 160, and then sometimes it looks like there's just a little bit of extra room getting created. So some of your elements are a little farther apart than I think they're meant to be. But other than that, I have no real. I think I'm good leaving it there, and we look forward to seeing you in the future. Nate, you have any concluding words for our friend?
Just a final thing. Yeah, I think you're killing it. I think you're doing all this stuff correctly here. Your target was larger enterprise corporations or something along those lines. The terminology of proto-persona heavily aligns with that of agile and lean methodologies, which also targets that of enterprise environment. So you're killing it there. Yeah, I think you're doing a lot of stuff correctly here. No qualms on my side.
Thanks. No, thanks a lot, Nate and team, for the feedback. Just one last question and in terms of the 4 case studies, you think that they're, so the first one is this one, the accessible shopping case study. The second is the digital menus that I made a while ago, Oracle interaction design, and Puffer. Like, you think those 4 are good for a enterprise role, or should I add more, or what's your take?
I suspect you probably don't need more, as long as these are focused on different aspects of that corporate life. If each of them tell a certain story about why you're a good fit for corporate, then they're probably fine. 4 is usually enough.
Okay.
I like that philosophy a lot. The other yes and I would have is that case studies typically are a tactic of the target audience that you're looking to target. So, for example, if you're looking to target enterprise healthcare, enterprise finance, ideally your case studies would mimic those industries. So now it's just a question of what are you targeting?
Okay. It's a question to answer now or to think about?
To think about. Yeah, that'll be a lifelong question of how your career growth happens, and as your career grows, what niche do you end up targeting?
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Inigo.
Thanks.
Yeah, I really appreciate the time, man.
No, thanks. Thanks for your time and for giving me the great feedback. I really appreciate it.
Tim, next on the list, we've got Troy. Troy's here somewhere. Troy, if you're out there, thank you so much for raising your hand. Tim, is there a better way to search through the folk in the Discord chat? Is there like a filter or something?
We might need an AI to do it for us. I think we should AIify all of Feedback Friday. We can use AI avatars to replace us. We can use AI voice filters so we sound more designerly.
Count me in.
We'll call it the Steve Jobs filter. And it'll just make us look reminiscent of Steve Jobs. But, of
Why
course,
Steve
us.
Jobs?
It'll be personalized too. Be very, very good. Troy, tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me on. Much appreciated. I was lurking this last week, and I figured I'm at the spot where I'd like to, a little bit of feedback before this gets kind of launched out into the world. So, yeah, I just thought I'd come on here. Any and all feedback would be nice. I guess main goals for this. Well, I guess I'll go into a bit of my previous. I was working for a sports and rec company doing all any and everything there. I have a pretty strong, branding background. So going into that, I've also done a lot of, web and UX, some print stuff, advertising, marketing, everything at that place. So I'm just trying to find something new now. So I wanted to get you guys feedback on how this is perceived, I guess. Just because I feel like a lot of my stuff is pretty design heavy in marketing and other stuff. So I want to go more towards product, and that's I don't know, that's the goal. So I just want to see how this is perceived to you guys and overall thoughts. And yeah.
So summary of the
Yeah.
simple summary. You have previous experience in marketing. It looks like you have some experience as doing design lead work. You are transitioning at least looking for, maybe it's not like a true transition, but at least a role title for product design. And this is your new portfolio that you're launching out to the world soon.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you're aiming for corporate type roles?
Yeah, corporate. But my last role was also corporate, but not done the way I would like. I definitely felt like I was on an episode of Severance. So, like we all are as corporate guys. But I definitely want to try to find a company that feels right for me, both morally, depending on the product, and something that actually truly motivates me and I feel good about. I have my eye on some stuff. Some examples could be like Wealth Simple. I'm Canadian, so I think they have a great product. There's a lot of cool design with them. And it's something I think actually helps. Us being in the digital world, I kind of want something that is more impactful than just some, stuff that makes people look at their screens longer. I think that's a big thing for me. So yeah, I guess that's a good thing.
Well, Troy, we all stand with you on that. And to you and everyone in this position, we can always go build our own companies if we want. Just saying.
Yeah, but that's later down the road. That's where I'd like.
Sure.
Yeah. Troy, I may have missed it. Did you mention what title you were looking to target in your next role?
Titles are, I don't know. Titles are interesting to me. It's kind of hard for me to focus it specifically on one hard thing. But yeah, product design. My previous being design lead, I think that's fairly loose in a sense. Like I was managing junior designers and making big decisions for the company and such. But I feel like if I'm targeting something like a larger enterprise company, it would be I think it's if I'm being honest with myself, I think it's a bit of a jump to shoot for a director type of role. So, yeah, I'm not all that sure, but and also again, what I want to see with this is how this is perceived to you guys, and how you guys actually feel where I'm going with it. So I'd like to keep that role idea open, I guess.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You are a person of many hats, and your skill set feels generalistic in nature. Is that sounding right?
Yeah, 100%.
Interesting. That positions you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I've kind of been everywhere. I've done a lot of things. I'm just learned a lot of things on my own. But I've just kind of felt a bit more stronger towards, building, software, apps, websites, etc. It just feels better to me. I want to get away from social media and marketing as a whole. It's just a pain, again, personally and morally. So definitely want to try to find something that I'm building. I want to just build, or be a part of a product that has an actual, impact or substance to society, I guess. Yeah.
Nice. That sounds good. So I'm hearing your goal is to take a look at your website, and we can provide you what we perceive you as, how you're positioning yourself. If we have time, there's a conversation here about centralized environments and decentralized environments too. And as you attempt to position yourself for more corporate gigs, how your skill set, which one of these environments your skill set best matches.
Yeah.
So beyond that, Tim, where's a good place? No, go ahead.
One other thing as well. Based on I currently only have 2 case studies, or I've actually gone a bit of a showcasing route. And I want your guys' opinion on this as well, when I was in my position as design lead, I was hiring a little bit. And for the most part, I was going through a lot of the applications coming in, so nothing big on the enterprise side where you have recruiters digging through everything. But I personally felt like a lot of case studies can get very lengthy and too long didn't read kind of vibes. So I've gone a bit more of a showcasing route where I do explain what it was and what it did. You can click into one of those if you'd like. But just tried to show a broader aspect of the final outcome without too much of a read, I guess. And yeah. So it feels, what I also feel lacks within these is a bit of substance. I feel like they could be a bit beefier. If I'm being also honest with the type of work that I was doing there, it's not something I'm like fully not necessarily proud of. I am proud of it, but I wish it could have been different, and that I feel like some people who was able to work with maybe dug things around the wrong way, or like the company wanted a different direction that I didn't feel was best. So I've tried to make those showcases as best as I can. But I think I do need another project, either it's a passion project or something that has a bit more substance for the role that I'm going for. So yeah.
Nice. Tim, if it works for you, rather than diving down into the case studies with depth, I think we just do a general overview of all of the things and then communicate how we think he's currently positioned himself. Is that sounding good for you?
Sounds good.
I'm good with that too. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, cool.
Do you want to jump in here, or do you want to do anything on the landing page first?
Yeah, I do. Troy, so the scanning through your 2 case studies and your, where's the best place to start? Design lead. I'm struggling with the terminology of design lead for a couple of reasons. One is design lead means something different depending on the environment that one is in. There are design leads that are managerial in nature, as in it sounds like your background. In centralized environments, you've got design folk underneath you, and then you work with that design team and manage that design team and how it functions. Sounds like you've got some hiring there as well. In decentralized environments, design leads are more dedicated toward individual product teams, where rather than working with other designers, you would then embrace a product team, or a pod is a term that some folk use. You wouldn't work with other designers. You would instead lead that particular project through the design process, including navigating and communicating with other business stakeholders like PMs, devs, analysts, a myriad of other potential titles in there. So where I'm struggling with design lead is if your goal is to target more enterprise corporate environments, I'm not confident that we have positioned the term design lead accurately enough for you. And in your present website, I'm thinking you're positioning yourself closer to that of a UI designer than that of product or UX thinking, mostly because your case studies are more showcasey in nature and don't talk about a lot of the process or leadership stuff along the way.
Mm-hmm.
That's my current high-level thought. Tim, how do you feel about that critique so far?
I haven't looked at the case study enough to really say yet. Most of my looking has been at his homepage.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the leadership aspect, it's more it's explained within going through the experience pages and on certain parts within each of these case studies and stuff. I have had to again direct other designers below me, or work with the other stakeholders within the company to give them their best product and such. So I've had to direct and lead in other ways there.
Yeah, we're not questioning your background. Just FYI, like we're not putting you in the spot. We're just noting the messaging.
Yep.
I think my impression of you so far, Troy, from your profile on your website, at least starting off right away from this homepage, is it has a lot of bells and whistles. Too many bells and whistles. Mm-hmm. One of the great things about one of the things I've learned is that design is all about strategy, and strategy is nothing more than trade-offs, choosing when to use something and when to not use something. And it looks like your portfolio is using a lot of somethings. Okay. And the trade-off of using all these different things, that you have a lot of noise here without being able to focus on maybe the value or having the messaging of someone who's more seasoned and more veteran. There are people though who this will appeal to. I just may not be one of those people. It may not have been my personal experience, so take that with a grain of salt. But it has you have so much motion happening here, even with the cursor. You have lots of hover states for things that don't actually do stuff. And for me, it's a pet peeve of mine, so maybe I'm unfair here. But anytime you have something that hovers or interacts with your hover, it should have a meaningful, like it's a signifier for something meaningful to the user. And yet there's no meaningful value here. And so this is like, for me, this is a classic mistake I see sometimes junior designers or other designers make. Whoa,
you're breaking my stuff, man.
Hey,
did you see he's got arc in his tool set though, Tim? How's that make
look
you
at
feel?
how many value, look at all this value. Look at that.
How did you, are you clicking? What is doing that?
I'm just dragging it.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
It's just a
Not
feature of
happening on mine.
Yo, I got a framer. What the hell's going on with this?
Tim, are you breaking stuff?
I don't know. I guess so. It's too much power. Too much power. But like when I look at all this, there's like so much happening here. Like you've got this animation here. These all hover, these all move. And yet by the time I get here, like I'm Troy, I'm design director. I'm not seeing any like director type things happen. I'm just seeing UI and animation. And they don't even tell like the same story. They're all slightly different. They all communicate slightly different things. Well, I guess these are consistent together, but like it's just for me, it's not telling the story of you as a design director. I'm not seeing any of the impact, the results. I guess I do see the people here, but you're framing these as coworkers rather than people that you've led alongside or people that you've made impacts alongside. As a director, I'd be looking for you to talk about like, this is like the team that I've worked and built with. These are some of the people who have like led to some of the greatest moments rather than this being like very collaborative.
Yeah, that section was more of like a foreshadowing to the bottom where there are like full testimonials of like working with those people and the impacts that I've had with them. So it's just like, I just wanted this section to feel more like almost like a scroll, there's a lot of motion and stuff going on, but a bit of a scroll stopper to stop and read through each of these things to understand my background as a designer and what I know, what I've learned from and how I think and whatever else before jumping into, the work. So.
Sure. I don't think it accomplishes that though.
Okay.
That's my feedback for you. I don't think it accomplishes that value.
No, that's fine. What and why is that? Is it because of the too much motion, or is it the content?
In this case, it is because. Sorry, go for it, Nate.
I was going to say it might be an opportunity to talk about the 3 target audience of corporate stuff, but finish your thought.
I was just going to say I am seeing this as I come in here, I'm not seeing you reflected in this. It's just a tool stack, right? There's not a thinking or a philosophy.
Yeah.
This is a little too short to talk about like maybe yourself. I want to see things that are impact, not necessarily. We see this sometimes in other people's portfolios too, where they'll put like really big design quotes or design statements, all truisms that we hope are true and that we want everyone to believe, of course. Like I'd love for everyone to be passionate about building design systems that scale. Like you shouldn't build a design system that doesn't scale. That is like the fundamental thing here. But this doesn't really tell me anything specific about you, and it ends up feeling a little bit like it feels very generic, honestly. And like trust and recommend by great people to work with also ends up feeling a little bit cliched or a little bit too generic. I would, if I'm here, I think that this is a choice. This is a very bold choice to have just you at the top. Maybe it's not, you haven't quite communicated your seniority quite yet. You haven't necessarily communicated your role title very well. It's very small here, but that's okay. Still a very bold choice here. We do have this like showcasing kind of cursor here, but once we get down here, I'd be fully expecting to maybe already be seeing this social proof. You have this down here. I would put this either much closer to the top. You said you want this to foreshadow this teamwork section to foreshadow that. This is a much worse version of that. And so if it's foreshadowing, I think it is burying it. It's instead of like supporting it, it's replacing it. So I would swap those at least. I don't think your tool stack is a great thing to focus on. This is something I say with a caveat, of course, that like designers should know tools. We should all be using modern tools, the best tools out there. But a designer is not the tool. It's like Thor with the hammer. He's not the god of hammers. He's the god of thunder. And so we're like, as designers, we're not the designer of Figma. We're not Figma designers. We are designers who solve human problems. And so even using this, I think, kind of takes away from that narrative and kind of focuses a little bit away from that. And again, there's so much interaction here. It feels like a combination of like someone who turned on a lot of buttons, who just pressed a lot of buttons without like intentionally designing those buttons, or even maybe a little bit into like the vibe code space where you just vibe code a lot of things that all end up having a very like lots of animation, lots of interactions, but not necessarily leading to the impact. Like if you want to talk about branding's a great thing for a director to talk about. But I would love to see like the impact of and the value of branding for you. Or like if you want to talk about photography, I do think photography is an interesting choice. If you're going for like a product design point of view, photography may distract, may bury the lead. You know, when you think about when you design like a web page or a product, so you don't want to show a button to a user when you don't want them to press that button, right? You want the user to take the actions that you want them to take. So you give them the buttons to take those actions. And if you are going to give me these narrative pieces that aren't about product design, you have product design right here, 1/6 of this component here. All of these are things that like distract and take up room in your narrative about who you are. So I mean, maybe you could move this to an about page. Maybe this would be a fun feature for an about page, but especially on like you're introducing yourself, I want to get to the value much faster. I want to see your impact, and you can do that with your social proof. You can do that with your case studies right away. So I get there a little bit faster. That's
so
my
just a section ordering kind of thing as well. You know,
a what?
Like reordering the sections.
Reordering the sections might help a little bit. Building your trust ladder so it's a little more robust, hands off who you are and the impact you do before you kind of take up cognitive room. But even still, I just don't know if this is worth being on a landing page for a designer, especially at a director level. Again, we're all people, so like this might work really well for some people. But in my experience, in my opinion here for you, I don't think that this is telling the story you want it to, especially with how flashy and loud it is.
Yeah.
Nate, what do you got here? I've been talking for a little bit.
Well, I'm looking at the clock. I don't know that I have a whole lot more in terms of generalistic stuff. Like there's certainly specifics we could dive down in regard to case studies. We've talked about branding a bit, and I'd want to differentiate the term brand from that of visual identity as opposed to like marketing versus visual design. So there's a conversation there. There's a conversation about targeting decentralized environments versus centralized environments, depending on your core target. I think the high level overview is that Troy, I think the portfolio is currently doing a lot of things really, it's doing a lot of things really cool. The hurdle is the target audience is looking for more specific things. For example, there are 3 target audiences: recruiters, hiring managers, future peers. Recruiters mostly just want to take a look at your case study and they want to validate that the competencies that you have match that of the job description. So that's where like a lot of terminology and housekeeping comes into play. Hiring managers care much more about the process of how you go about solving problems. Your case studies are currently more of like a gallery showcase kind of thing than it is about the process, but you've already talked about that, you're aware. And then future peers, they care more about you as a personality. So they care much more about the about who you are as a person. If I share a cubicle wall with you for 8 hours, are you going to be enjoyable to work with? That sort. So it's like, if we take a look at those 3 core audiences, I think your current portfolio is adjacent to some of their needs. And like, you're really close. We just have to pivot some of it.
Mm-hmm.
Troy, how you feeling? Do you feel like you've got some actionable takeaways there, or did it end up feeling too generalistic?
No, I think it definitely was. I haven't really shown many designers this yet, so it's any and all feedback is definitely appreciated. And I getting back into the job hunt world. I just want to know how this is perceived within those those 3 buckets that you just mentioned, and that's really important. Also, I just wanted to touch on responsiveness. I understand I haven't made any response yet. Also, maybe that's a quick question I can ask right now. I'm hoping that most recruiters are looking on a desktop and not on a phone or anything like that. So, like, are people going in and breaking things down like that? Is that something I know it is just a part of everything, but do I need to worry that much about it? Or
most of the world's traffic is through the web. I have analytics. You can attach analytics to your framer as well. I see that you own your own domain, so you have the power to do that. You can use things like PostHog or Google Search Console. You can add those analytics yourself, and you can see the percentage of people who come to your website, whether they're on mobile or on desktop, and you'll get to be the one who gets to judge of that for yourself. But the truth is, I do have people who are on mobile who show up on my website as recruiters.
Another, I guess, small thought with that would be like, if someone were to go to on mobile, is it frowned upon to have a different view of it, saying like, hey, like this is designed for a desktop experience, please come back on desktop? Or is that like iffy?
I would say, in the spirit of all things with the job process, is that the more friction you introduce, the lower, the worse results you get. So if someone shows up,
a way to turn them away, like there'd be like a button of some sort, be like, hey, like email my URL, or like, make it super easy for them to come back at another time.
See, that's friction though. That's friction. They're there in that moment for you, and you've got their attention. I mean, not that you couldn't do that. That's a choice you can make. But just keep in mind that, they have so many, as you said, like there's so many applicants to look at. There's so many people to go through, that if you lose them in this moment, you may never regain them.
Yep.
Brian, I'm looking at the clock. We've got to move on to the next one, but I really appreciate you hopping on here and chatting with us.
Yeah, of course. Thanks to both of you for the time, and the few people in chat who are giving me a few suggestions and such. I appreciate it. So, thanks again, and we'll chat maybe another time.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back so we can talk more about some of this in depth. And sorry for going a little long here.
It's all good. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and have a good weekend.
Yeah, you too. Next on the list, we've got Ebony. I found you. No need for hand raising. I'm going to invite you to speak. Looks like we're taking a look at Ebony's resume. I recall looking at it last week, and I remember there being a sensitivity. We weren't wanting to share it. Ebony, is it now in a shareable public presentation format?
Yes. Hello.
Hello. Welcome back.
Thank you. So yeah, it's just right there in CV. I removed any sensitive stuff on my CV now that you can take a look at.
Fantastic.
That's a super artsy load-in.
Thank you.
Go for it.
I'm just saying how that a lot of people has been telling me that whenever they load my website, some of the stuff keeps getting cut off, and I've been trying my very best to fix it. I don't know why some people see it wrong, but
Interesting. So it does look like it might be a responsive issue here.
Wow.
I'm trying to remember. Ebony, what did you make the site in? It was something unique.
Ready Mac.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, Ebony, how do you feel about, I say this with a lot of ignorance. I'm unfamiliar with ReadyMag. How would you feel about the pivot toward something more universal, like a framer?
I heard about Framer, actually. Funny enough, it appeared on my Instagram. So I was like, you know what? Let me try it. But I haven't gotten into looking more, trying it out. But I've seen it, and I'm like, okay, this looks interesting. But since I'm on ReadyMag, I kind of want to continue with it still until I get to the part where, you know what, let me actually try another website. I want to still give ReadyMag a try and fix these issues.
That's we can absolutely look at the content as well. We're not going to force any designer to use any sort of tool. There are some tools that are easier than others. I would suggest that having a slow load in like this probably does create more friction than it might be worth, just because people typically want to move fast, and if they have an experience where they're trying to move fast and this slows them down intentionally, maybe a sticking point for them. But we're not even here to talk about that. We're here to talk about your CV, which we're allowed to open, right? We can open your CV on stream. Okay, cool.
That's completely fine.
Let's open the CV. Let's take a look at this.
Now, I remember looking at this last time, and there are definitely some changes made. How much of this is new?
So I would say just the first page is new. I put more into experience because that was the main issue that we talked about last 2 weeks ago. And I managed to just like I hopefully created more impact than before and changed the way that I use the bullet points. As you said, Nate, I should use bullet points to talk about my achievements and accomplishments, and that's what I was talking about. But I wasn't really sure how to word my achievements, so that's what I kind of want to like talk about as well today.
Yeah.
All right. Achievements and stuff.
Mhm.
So I'll give you my fresh eyes. And then Nate will follow up with the power hooks to help us with the stuff that you want to focus on. I do see that your top section is formatted maybe a little bit unusually. If you've intentionally done this, totally fine. This is just me pointing it out. I do think it's a little bit more standard to have things left aligned or center aligned just for the human brain, or at least the Western brain, because this is how Western languages are arranged. So we always looked at things on the left side and we anchor it, especially since you were doing a left side anchor consistently throughout your document. Probably having these left anchored would be good. You could also even have these. Is this rendering correctly, by the way? This is what it looks like, right?
Yes.
Okay. I do see that there's some places, maybe it's just a rendering bug. Some places, yeah. So it looks like it was a little bit of a render. There's some places where the line kind of format's weird, but I think it's just the engine of my browser loading that in.
Yeah.
But you do have like a period right here, which is a little bit interesting. I might move your contact information to be a single line, so that way it kind of just reads straight across. So that way all of your links are consolidated, and I can find them easier. Content-wise, Nate, where are we at? What are we looking at first?
There's all kinds of things I want to talk about here. First off, what application did you end up making this in?
Word.
This is
Word.
Microsoft Word, huh? Interesting. So I like Microsoft Word. There is an ATS conundrum with this particular thing, at least based on our non-HR perception of things. So let's get to that in a second here. Let me just start. Oh man, when I have these conversations, I like to start high elevation and then focus inward. But it's so easy to start from the top of the page to the bottom of the page. But that talks about things that are less important soon. Let's go high elevation. Let's talk about your current formatting of bullet points, because I think that's the largest area of opportunity for you. So, last time you were on here, I think I remember, did we talk about the what, how, why approach to writing bullet points?
Yes.
Cool. How did you try some stuff out? How did that process go?
Yeah, so the thing is, I didn't know it was supposed to be in bullet points. So actually the I'm pretty sure I said that in the wrong way, in the wrong order. In the paragraph instead of the bullet points. Because you said that the bullet points is mainly just about the achievements and the positive stuff.
Yeah. So I'm okay. Cool. So this is good. We just have to finesse it a little bit now. So and it's sounding like I potentially miscommunicated slightly last time. So taking a look at your bullet points, let's take a look at your job experience in general. We've got two sections. One is a description of the job itself, and then the second section are bullets dedicated to that particular job. Now, the most important part of this section, I would argue, are the bullets, not the job description. And the bullets should focus on your wins and achievements within that particular organization. Presently, your bullets aren't that. They are, if I were to read the top one, completing project with positive results. That is theoretically an achievement, but it's not specific to you or differentiate you in any way. I can copy and paste that bullet to like my resume and it would be just as universal, right? So it's not your achievements or outcomes. It's just a generic thing that UX design theoretically hopefully does. Well, I guess we've got visual artist on here as well. So I would want to take these bullets and I'd want to approach them back from the what, how, why response, or the why, how, what if you're feeling like flopping them. How would you feel about trying to rewrite these bullets into that format? Do you feel like you've got the capability of doing that?
Okay, I can do it. Yeah, I can give it a try. It's just I'm worried about spacing because I think I struggle with keeping things concise. Maybe because I go a bit too much into detail. I don't really know, actually.
Yes. So space is 100% going to be a hurdle for you. And that's a design limitation or constraint that you're going to have to work around, which brings us right to, if we were to focus in on that elevation, go slightly downward. The amount of content you have on your page, I think, is actually going to limit you. So one of the quandaries with resumes is that the very first audience that a resume is going to go through is that ATS. And the ATS is going to attempt to parse your resume with the objective of matching the key phrasing on your resume to that of a job description it's attempting to fulfill. The hurdle now is the amount of words that you have on your resume is going to be fewer than the average amount of words that other candidates will have on their resumes. For humans, not necessarily not necessarily a big deal, but for robots, that means less keyword association for you. So now the goal is, how can we pack as much verbiage on this resume as possible without overstuffing it, making it feel like it's keyword loaded and all that?
Mm-hmm.
That'll be a design constraint for you. We've got a fair amount of white space on here. We can reduce typeface sizing and all of that. But now the goal is just to get more text on this page. Word does provide some limitation there. How do you feel about your ability to condense the material on here? How do you feel about your ability to condense the design so that we can incorporate more verbiage onto these pages?
When you say that, do you mean like removing the lines or?
I'm hesitant to provide a tactic of how one does that. So it could be removing lines. It could be reducing white space. It could be changing layout to accommodate white space a little bit more effectively. All of the design like skill sets would have to be included there to better the layout to accommodate more content. Is that sounding okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine. I can continue experimenting, actually. I'll just see what I can do.
So in order so far, I would want to see your bullets in your experience section pivot to that of the what, how, why process, rewriting those bullets to follow what, how, why.
Mm-hmm.
And then ideally getting more content on your page so it better competes with that of other resumes. I've got a couple other things, but they're less important than a lot of the high level stuff. Let me pause there. Tim, what are you noticing on this resume?
Yeah. So one thing that stands out to me is all caps. All caps always kind of concerns me when it's about your information because it makes it harder for people to scan, comprehend, and read. It also can take up more space. So I think even having all caps for your name here, all caps for the Illustrator role here, hello, and I think it makes it harder to read some of these things, even though it does create some emphasis. I might use a slight bold to create that emphasis instead. That's one thing you can think about.
Okay.
I am noticing also kind of putting your name so it's one line across. I was just kind of noticing, in addition to this kind of stuff, are you set on the title for visual artist? Because when I look at visual artist, I think visual artist kind of means more like fine art to me. And then I think of visual designer as more like working inside of Adobe Illustrator, these kind of like digital types of projects. I don't. Maybe you are a visual designer, a visual artist, though. I don't know if that's true. Which way?
So to be honest, I work with both like digital and traditional. At the moment, in my CV, I don't have any projects that I can talk about with fine artworks because like that was before university. But in future, that's what I'm thinking about. In future, I will be continuing to use fine art. It's just I haven't done it yet.
Okay.
So I thought
Maybe
about keeping that.
it might be worth trying visual artist and designer. Just there's a little bit less ambiguity, so you kind of get both of those worlds. Just something to think about, since I think that's just a bias that I have. Could be totally wrong. Then again, moving this content so it's maybe one line across. Maybe this is broken because of formatting that you did. You've got this period over here. And then I was also noticing your LinkedIn's not actually link. There's no link here. I know it's just flat. So it's just and so is your portfolio. So this might be just some like export problems that Word is giving you because Word is being a a butt head sometimes. But just something to kind of keep in mind. Your email though does work. I think it's because the reader recognizes that this is the written link. So just something to be aware of, that these links are not working in their current form.
Okay.
So we already talked
While
about
we're on this subject, real fast, you may also want to consider spelling out those links. So rather than saying LinkedIn, it's the full URL, so it's now print compatible as well. Same with your website.
Oh.
Yeah. And I know LinkedIn gives everyone by default like this crazy long like email, like address. It's like LinkedIn/user1 dash and then like a number series. You can actually manually update your URL on LinkedIn. If you go to your LinkedIn profile settings, there's a button for it. I can't remember where it is. I can't show it because I'm not logged into LinkedIn on this browser, but you can go in there and you can update the URL to something that's more human friendly and readable and typable. So that's an option for you if you have a very long LinkedIn URL. I recommend it for everyone, honestly. So we already talked about how these are all caps, probably not the move, but is still a move that you can make. I don't have any huge feedback on this over here, other than if you are trying to save space, you may consider moving the date to the far right side over here. So it's kind of over here. It might save you some space if you condense some information, but maybe not. Your bullet points, just like Nate was talking about, I'll give you my flavor, my quick 2 cents on this. I do think your bullet points are going the right direction, but are a little too broad and not specific enough. So for example, completing a project with positive results. I hope we all complete our projects with positive results. That's not always the case, but I do hope it is. If you can make this more specific about what those positive results are or what this ethical outcome is, that will make them stronger. So, even if it's like, completed a project with positive results, you might be able to rewrite that as like designed 3 editorial illustrations, cover full page spot for future articles. It's more specific, it's more quantifiable, and it gives you a chance to showcase like your actual specific, the specifics of what you were accomplishing. I do
Tell us what the result is. Yeah, I want to know the result.
Tell us more about that and be more specific with that. And I think if you even if the only thing you did was made this more specific, and then you went even more specific, so 1 layer more specific than you think it should be, then I think this would probably be a lot stronger for you.
Okay.
And I think that's all I'd like to make. I mean, there's other things in here too that depending on who you are, maybe like how your skill section is formatted could be a little bit different. But I think honestly, when I scan this, it looks like it has all the right beats. I think this is a really good starting place for your CV here, with just a couple of different format improvements and some of the content, making it more specific, and as Nate was saying, kind of including more information about that. Do you have any specific questions or things we didn't cover or touch on inside of this that you'd like to hear about?
I do have a question actually, because I know with bullet points, I think, well, I've heard people say not to have too much bullet points. So what would be like the minimum and the maximum? Like, is 3 the minimum, and then maximum is like 5?
I think I might have 12 to 15 per item on my resume. I'm also in a more technical space though, right? I'm in a more, so like the type of roles I'm looking for, that's just how I communicate. And so that's how I've chosen to do that. I don't know if there is a certain number for or against. You have to remember that, yes, sometimes people do hold your resume in their hand, but for the most part, those people who are validating you based on your resume is actually the ATS, which I don't know if it actually cares how many bullet points there are, as long as the information's in there.
Okay.
I want to talk about ATS as well. I'll just hop in now. I didn't mean to interrupt. Well, Ebony, did we talk about Resi last time you were on here?
I don't think we did. No.
Okay, cool. In the chat, I sent a link for Resi. The only reason, so Resi is a resume assistant. You can upload your resume on there. You can argue with the AI on how one iterates and betters the resume. It also help you like format stuff. If you care about the formatting, you can export out of there, or you can ignore the export and continue to build in Word. The motivation of why I'm sending this link is you are doing, your directions here are great. Now it's matter of honing down your momentum and then iterating your momentum to best meet the requirements of that of ATSs and that of recruiters, hiring managers, all that. Resi will help you do that. The only reason I link to Resi is because you following the link in the chat, you can get yourself a free pro account, which enables you to forever iterate. What I'd love to happen now, Ebony, is we've talked about the high level, most important things you need to work on. There are other details we could also talk about, but they're just not as important as the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you're open to it, I'd love for you to chat with Resi, argue with it, work on your bullets to follow a what, how, why approach or why, how, what approach. And then ideally find a way to condense some of that content and get more on a single page. After you're done with that, are you able to come back and chat with us again and we can see how you're doing?
Yeah, of course. I would be happy to.
Heck yeah. Love to see that happen. Tim, any final thoughts on Ebony's resume before we move on?
No, just continue with where you're going, and be specific. It's okay to be a little technical, and I know the urge is to make it pretty and very like pleasant. Just remember though that it's mostly ATS who will be reading your resume, and there will be probably a couple people who might hold it in their hands. I guess I can't speak too much to the more illustrator category, but I think a lot of the storytelling that you want to do will be on your website. So if you're worried that you're like, oh, they're not going to see my personality, your website's for your personality. That's where your personality goes. This is for the machine overlord, ATS, black box, black hole that is, connecting a job post to your resume.
Okay. Thank you so much. Oh, I do have a question though. Or is it two? The first one is, before I made these changes, I did say that the projects I worked on, they're mainly from university work. Now that I've removed them from my CV, does that mean I have to remove it as well from my website? Because I did say on my website for each project that I did do university work on them. This was for university. No? Okay.
I don't think you need to necessarily. Can you rephrase that just so I make sure I understand that completely before I give an answer?
So basically, on my CV, now I don't have like university projects on there anymore. However, on my website, it does say that these works are university projects. So is it a good idea to keep like talking about them being university projects, or just as my actual work? I'm not too sure what to do.
For your portfolio, which we would love to work on with you, that will be a completely different beast to tackle. I would say probably just leave it as it is for now, and then come back and we'll talk about portfolio and strategy and framing and positioning, all that good stuff.
Lovely. All right, then. Thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate the time.
Bye.
Alrighty. I haven't updated the queue in some time. We are flying through, though. We've only got two more, and looking at the clock, that might be exactly how much time we have room for. Next on the list, Tim, we've got Aryan, followed by Flor.
Is it not Say? Oh, no, that's the wrong person. Sorry. Looking at the wrong link. Okay. Dude, scrolling through. Maybe I'm just missing them. Oh, no, I see them. Okay. Yeah. This one, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Real fast in the chat, we have what is an ATS? We should talk about this more frequently. ATS stands for Applicant Tracking System. And this is the tool that recruiters and HR managers and corporations use to manage the relationships that they have with candidates and potential employees. When we talk about ATSs, we're mostly talking about ATS's ability to consume resumes, to understand and parse resumes, and then suggest candidates to that of the hiring manager. If you ever apply for a job and there's 1,000 other candidates applying for that job, the ATS is parsing through those and then recommending. There are asterisks to everything I'm saying here. There are exceptions and differences in how ATSs are utilized. But what we're attempting to solve for is ATS's recommending you for those jobs over other candidates for those jobs, and humans never even taking a look at your resume because it doesn't pass the ATS. That's the context that we're trying to solve for. Aryan, welcome.
Hey, what's up?
Doing all right, man. We've chatted before. How you been?
No, we haven't chatted before. Like
No?
last time, I wanted to
We're
come
kindred
here,
spirits.
but got some work. So yeah, I joined in today.
Oh, you were added to the list and we just never got to you.
Yeah.
I
Brutal.
see. I knew I recognized
Absolutely
the name.
brutal.
And I recognized the site. I've seen it before.
So tell us a little bit about who you are, and could you pronounce your name? I just want to make sure I get it correctly. I have a history of mispronouncing basically everyone's names, but I promise I'm trying my best.
It's Aryan. Aryan.
Aryan?
Aryan.
Aryan. Okay. Are you rolling the R? Is that?
Yeah. Aryan.
I can't roll R's. That's also gonna be a
I
challenge.
also can't roll R's.
I can't roll R's. It was a real
Aryan?
problem when I was taking Spanish in high school. Okay. Very cool.
Yeah. So
Well, thanks for being here. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are, what kind of design work you do, or what kind of role you have in general? And then your audience, such as, are you trying to design for corporate? Are you designing for freelance? Do you have a specific field or industry that you work in? And what your goals are, such as getting hired, new jobs, finding contracts or leads, etc.
Yeah. So I'll talk about myself. I started designing like an year and a half before, but
Hey, Aryan, I'm so sorry to cut you off. You were sounding a bit distant. Are you able to move the mic closer to your mouth or unbury it from a pile of papers, anything like that?
Okay, just wait. Is it fine now?
Oh, it's certainly different. Let's try saying
It's very
something else.
different, yeah.
Hey, hello. Is it
That is
fine?
more clear. Yeah, appreciate you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll talk about myself that I have been designing from past 1.5 years ago, but in between, like I got some break, and from past 6 months, I got in the UI UX designing projects, like the paid projects, through the freelancing, somewhat from Upwork, and mostly I got projects from these Discord communities and all. So I made this portfolio to get like onboard more clients on as a freelancer. Currently, I'm not looking for any corporate job roles or something. I did an internship for like 6 months, but I guess the freelancing will be the much more better option for me than doing these corporate roles. Yeah. So I wanted to ask about the landing page, and mainly what should I put in the like work which I'm putting in here, the particular project if I'm putting in. So how do I, first of all, how do I, like, what should I put in the work section, and also how do I approach to more clients through my this portfolio? Yeah.
So quick summary. You've done digital design in the past through agencies.
Through agencies, as in like as a freelancer. Yeah.
Okay. And you want to continue freelancing as opposed to going into a corporate type full-time role.
Yeah.
Okay. And then some extra questions for you. We may not have time to talk about these, but just out of curiosity, do you know what your lead funnel already looks like?
No, not really.
Okay.
Like I'm not
And
sure.
how are you trying to attract clients?
Right now I'm doing it basically from some referrals and mainly from the Discord communities and all. Like I'm joined in a lot of communities, so wherever there is a need, like I approach them directly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a way to do it. Because you're looking for freelance, there's going to be a couple of things you need to do. Every portfolio needs to tell a story, and the story needs to be about whoever owns that portfolio, because you are ultimately the product that's being sold. And the portfolio should basically become a mini you. So when you're not in the room, which hint, hint, I don't know about any of you, but whenever I visit someone's website online, they're never in the room with me. That's why I'm online on their website. And so this needs to basically explain you well enough that when you are not there, which will be 98% of the time, it will do the job of telling your story and convincing people that you're the right fit. I just saw people in person this morning, Nate. Don't come at me. I just met Design Buddy people in person. I just hope, yeah.
You did say that. That's fair.
I did. I drove fast to get home. I drove the legal speed limit to get fast to be here. So okay. So what we're going to be looking for is when people look at portfolios, there's going to be two things they need to speak to right away, which is one, there's going to be the visual impression. Remember, everything that humans look at with our eyes is visual. So there's going to be like a visual taste. And second is that you need to help them realize that they're in the right place at the right time. You essentially need to know your audience well enough to say, I understand your problem. I can therefore solve your problem. And I'm the right choice compared to other people to solve that problem. So those will be some of the things I'm looking for on your portfolio specifically. Now, there's other things that as designers we need to include as well, is that we usually show evidence, which is often our case studies, which are outcome and impact focused. But there is also a certain level of like proficiency and professionalism, because when you hire someone, you don't want to feel like I'm just going to send a check to this guy on the internet versus I'm hiring a professional. And even though the actual like managerial side of it looks very similar, of writing a check to a person versus writing a check to a professional, the feeling can be very different. And you want people to have the impression that if I go with you, there's no question about your legitimacy or your like professionalism.
Yeah.
Nate, you have any quick insights here before we jump right along?
Certainly not quick insights. Aryan, one of the struggles that I have with conversations like this is when it comes to reviewing resumes and portfolios for folks that are looking for jobs at a startup or enterprise environment, we have an understanding and awareness on what the target audience is. Now, you're a freelancer, which means your target audience is different from those of which we are currently accustomed to. The friction point with that being, we're not going to have straightforward answers on how to best position yourself with your target audience, because if we did, every business would be doing that. So when it comes to our ability to assist with your positioning, we're going to be a little bit limited in our ability to help you with this. That's where my brain is currently at. It sounds like Tim has some thoughts, though. My background is in marketing. I certainly have thoughts about half of the books behind me are in the marketing space, but none of them are quick, is the hurdle.
I'll give you some really quick insight. So looking at your website, there is some responsiveness issues that we're running into, which is the size of this text on the screen. There's a couple of different rules. I always talk about this. It's if you go to this website, post in the chat though, there is basically a rule that outlines how wide do humans like to read, essentially. Like when you look at something, how wide should it be for you to want to read it easily? And your website is not passing that test. This gets very wide, especially when I'm on a wide monitor. Like that's really long and far across. And look, this content is like encompassing almost. Oh, and it's also having issues. So this ends up being really, really big. So there is like a scale problem here. Additionally, there's a noise problem here. As a consumer, when I show up on a website, I have a certain limited, and this is the important thing about your users. Everyone has a limited cognitive load. If you think about this from an emotional like journey, user mapping, there's like an emotional state you need to track. There's also like a mental state you need to track. And people come into websites like this either with curiosity, maybe defensiveness, maybe like, oh, I'm worried I'm going to have to buy this guy's thing, or maybe I'm excited to look at their work. And you need to understand what is the emotional state that they show up with. And the second thing you need to look at is their like mental ability to comprehend what they're looking at. Using large all caps right here creates a huge amount of like cognitive load trying to read this mess of text here. And I think that this is also going to set you back. I have a hard time, one, separating your name from your role, which means that I, one, either don't get your name or I don't get your role. Whereas if you separate these out so there's a little more contrast between them, use different font weights and different emphasis styles, you can create a natural sort of architecture here that will allow me to comprehend what I'm looking at a little bit faster. And therefore, I have more mental space for looking at the other stuff that you want to show me. And then we get down here to these visuals. You are showing me a lot of visuals with a lot of movement. It's a little bit almost unsettling because it kind of has like a C vibe kind of thing going on here. It's kind of cool to look at when you're doing it on purpose, but when I'm not expecting it, it definitely throws me off a little bit. This is great for like a little bit of a marketing piece, but it's a lot to show me that can distract me a little bit. It's like an eye massage, and it's a C sickness or eye massage depending on who you are. But right here, I think that this is a strong section. Your desire to show proof right here is important. I think you need to show different metrics. So completed projects could be anything. You need to show the value of those projects. So impacts, maybe the number of users, maybe the number of money that you've managed, the number of clients. And then 2 years of experience. 2 years is probably not the kind of marketing you want to put out there. So I would choose another metric here that speaks to you a little bit more importantly and kind of leans into your web design aspect, your digital design experience. Show basically that proficiency through the outcomes and the impacts that you've done. So, even if it's like instead of 20 projects is like the number of web pages, or and like maybe the impact, like the number of visitors on those web pages, or like the increase in revenue earned between some of these projects that you can estimate. Those would be some early wins for you. Your featured projects, you can see these are so big. These are so big that I actually don't get the chance to understand what I'm looking at before you want me to click on it, which means that by the time I'm reading this, I'm already moving away from it, moving to the next one. An easy fix for this would be to have these proportional a little bit. So these are a little bit less big, so I don't see this too much without seeing the context for it, and also having better descriptors for this. Nate talks about this all the time, and he could probably even right now blitz some good ideas for what your case study should be here to help these be more impactful and important feeling to our user. And then this section's also really, really big. But I'm going to stop there. How do you feel about that so far?
Yeah, that's totally correct. Like I totally align with you. The roles, my role and the name is like not differentiated. So there should be some differentiation. Yeah. And yeah, that's fine.
If it's okay, I might hop in here and I might take the ideology of differentiation to the extreme. So you're freelancing, and with freelancing comes that you are the product that you are attempting to sell. What the website we're looking at should not be a portfolio. It should be a sales page. Clients very likely have no desire to look at your case studies. And even if they did, they are not of the capability of judging you based on case studies. They're not the audience designed for that. This should be a sales page. This should be who you are as an individual, the services you offer, the benefits you provide in the organization. And ideally, you would provide a substantial differentiation to that of other candidates. A couple of ways to do that. One, this is the thing that most folk do, is they describe what's unique about them, their skill sets, their individualities, what makes them unique from that of other designers. That is the weaker one. The stronger differentiation is that of narrowing down and focusing your target audience. For example, right now you're just saying, I am a digital designer and web developer. You are now selling to the entire world. If you were to instead say, I build websites for dentists, now you have a very specific target audience. The benefit of that being the rest of your sales funnel, the rest of all of your sales strategy now revolves around the needs and benefits and desires and the hurdles and interests and friction points of that of your new target audience. You will be far more successful at selling to specific niches of target audience than that of the generalistic world out there. Advantages and disadvantages to all of that, right? It's a sliding scale of flexibility versus niche. And where you want to land on that scale is up to your business strategy and positioning, which is why, in regard to all the marketing strategy I have behind me, it's too broad a conversation for this call. How are you feeling about that feedback and the ideology of transitioning this from a case study based portfolio website to that of a sales page?
Yeah, by the sales page, you mean like once the user is on my portfolio and the landing page, he should directly get like not directly, but he should be able to quickly get to what I am and what I have done. Am I right?
What are the services you provide? What are the pricing for those
Yeah.
services? How do I contact you as an individual? Like all of that high level sales stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Beyond that, Tim, I don't know that we'll be able to provide more value without a deeper conversation about positioning and target.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. If I had to give you the summary version of everything we talked about, your website is very loud. And at the same time, that loudness is not communicating enough specificity for your value for you to stand out. So, with that in mind, there's like lots of ways it applies with one, like your animations. Some of your animations are kind of cool, but like they're not serving. They don't necessarily serve a lot of value to the user. They're just animations that exist for their own sake. You do have numbers here, but those numbers aren't telling a story that's necessarily very convincing. And then even your featured work here, it's just lacking the anchors that would make it more persuasive. So those would all be great places to start with. We do have to move forward though, based on our time.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll work on this and I'll hope it will be done in the next week. Yeah.
Great. We'll see you back then next week.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Next on the list is Flor, and they are the last person I have on my list. There may be more folk who have posted links in the chat, but looking at the time, this will likely be the last one we have time for anyway. And it looks like we're looking at a Figma portfolio. Hello, welcome.
Yes, I'm working on bringing it over to Framer. So it's actually a great time to have feedback and change things because I'm working on it.
Great. Okay, let's talk about you then. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are, how we should say your name, and then also like what kind of design you do or other role, what market you focus on, if you have any specialties or like specific things that differentiate you, and what your goals would be for either like maybe you're in the same role, you're updating your portfolio, maybe you want to focus on a specific section, maybe you want like an overview. Give us some details.
Okay. Well, I'm from Argentina, so if we are to pronounce my name in Spanish it's Florencia. I'm a UX UI designer, but I'm more on the UX side of things, asking questions, user flows, mapping things out, usability testing, iterating. That's what I like the most, the discovery phase also. I worked in marketing before for a travel agency for a couple of years. Then 4 years and a half ago, I switched to UX UI design. The reason why my title there says product designer is because I also apply to product design jobs, even though it's a bit hard because I work for a design agency. So I got experience in several industries, but not a lot in a single industry. So it's a challenge. Related to the size of the company, I don't have a particular size in mind because even though I'm from Argentina, I'm living in Paris. So I'm trying to find a job here. And what I target are companies that are in need of English skills also, English or Spanish skills, because even though I speak French fluently, but I have never used it in a working environment. So, I'm competing with natives here. So sometimes I apply for startups, some other times for bigger companies. I I don't have a target in terms of size. So I guess that's more or less it. What I have on my homepage are my two most recent and most important projects, because they last over a year and a half, and they are complete. I would say they are end-to-end projects like UX and UI, and I think they are more useful than other ones that are just maybe marketing websites that are more simple. I don't know what else. I could say.
I think you've given us plenty to work with there.
It's a little too much for me to summarize.
I would like, if it's possible, a case review of the homepage. And I always wonder if my case studies are too lengthy, maybe.
All right. So it sounds like we'll focus on some of
say-
your case studies then. Ooh.
I
I cut
First.
Tim off. Would you ask that again, Tim?
I was just gonna say, it sounds like we're gonna focus on your case studies then. Does that
Okay,
sound
yeah.
right?
Did I hear you say, Florencia, that you were currently working in a design agency?
Design agency, fully remotely, yes.
Cool. Okay, great.
I was gonna note. So for everyone on our call, I think Florencia is doing and that's how you say it, right? Florencia.
Yeah, Florencia, Flor for short. That's what.
Okay. She's doing a great job with outlining the value of her right here. So you see that she is selling herself. So we do love a good name, but you notice that her name is not the thing that she's trying to sell people on. She's trying to sell people on her value, which is a strategic UX product designer with a foundation of marketing. There are different ways to do this sentence, but overall as a concept, that's a strong value prop to put on there. And that is going to appeal to one, agencies and for individual design partners. Especially in the freelance world, looking for that kind of work. So that is a great thing. And then a little bit more context that makes her a little more niche. So this is something that some of her specific skills and her process. So we're getting some insight into her. Some things that might improve this section slightly, only slightly though, would be maybe including some of your impacts on here, or even maybe your audience. If you want to narrow this down to like who you want to work with or the types of people that you work with. There's a cool effect in design and also in sales. In sales, it feels a lot less cool, but in design, it feels very cool, which is that when you tell someone about your audience, they become closer to your audience until they become your audience. So, for example, if I was to tell you about a problem here and I said, I design things for people who are tired and looking for a better life. And I wasn't tired and looking for a better life until you told me that's who you were working for. And now I start to read it as someone who's tired and looking for a better life. And so if you outline this as like businesses, if you are looking like businesses who want to do product design with good marketing, with something there, right? You outline that as your audience. You now prime me to start thinking as your audience and to look at it through the lens of that person until I become more and more aligned with that person. And therefore you become a better fit for me. That can backfire if you're too far off though. Like if you say for big corporate data brokers, I'm going to immediately discard this because that's not resonant with me. So just something to maybe think about. Adding audience can kind of help narrow this in a little bit. I'm seeing for the most part though, Nate, correct me if I'm wrong. This is set up pretty well. Like there's all the broad strokes here for what I'd be looking for here. We have very descriptive titles. We have overviews that are outlining like what's happened. There's room for more impact focusing, but I think like overall, it's a very strong structure and very strong scaffolding here.
Totally agree. I think you're doing all the things right. The only potential nitpick I have is that some of your titles look like buttons, like the tags look like buttons. But I mean, we're talking about real low level stuff that just isn't that important. So like Tim, for example, on your current screen, the title work at the top, I originally perceived as a button. Real low level.
That is pretty low level, but I think I agree because I also assumed this was a button. Thank you for pointing out that it wasn't a button. Let's get into your case study. We're going to look at the first one.
Okay, yeah, that's the most recent one. So about this one, I can say that it's a very long project. I'm currently working on it. It started in December last year, and it will last like April 2026. It's a complete redesign of a banking app. This is just a part of it, like 4 sprints. It lasted 2 months. It's only the redesign of the card management, credit card management structure, and a few improvements. And I want to say a lot because I also want to know if you, get the value out of the case study from what I brought, the titles and all that. But just to give you some context.
Tim, I want to try something here. Load up your tool that demonstrates all the headers. And I want to see, so as I'm scrolling through your
It
case
probably
study,
won't work.
Florencia. Oh,
It
because
won't
it's
work 'cause
Figma.
it's-
Dang it.
it's
Of course.
Figma.
It's an image. Yeah. What I was trying to get to here, Florencia, was that I am really appreciating the storytelling you're doing with your titles. And my goal was to utilize Tim's tool to see if I could tell your story by only looking at your titles through Tim's tool. Can't do that because it's Figma, but I love how you're titling your sections.
I'll come back when it's finished in Framer. I'm I'm actually doing the case studies already. So.
If you want to come back and talk about Framer, I will talk Framer with you for way too long. Long enough that Nate will send me 5 private messages saying, Tim, please stop talking about Framer. We need to move on. But I would love to talk about Framer. And I love working with Framer. There are many great tools out there, guys. I'm not endorsed by Framer. Framer is just one of the good options that exists out there for designers who are building their websites. I do see very good headers, just as Nate said. I think one thing I'm looking for a little more of, though, is connecting this great storytelling mechanics to maybe some more numbers. That could be one thing worth maybe improving. You're making credit card management easier in a smart structure with optimized user flows. That's great. Can you attach a value to it? And if you can, you may even make this stronger. And you can just you include it as like a little short thing here, or you can even kind of bring it out in this overview section where you're talking about maybe like the value of this, like what the true impact or reach of this problem that you're solving would be. I do see you have impact here, right? Improves, like this is great. So you're doing all the behavior stuff. Now it's just about, can you take that behavior stuff and make it business stuff? And there's a variety of ways to do it. We've already talked about that a little bit today. If you want to workshop that, we can spend detailed time doing that probably, but that's what I'd be looking for. I guess that's the lowest hanging fruit I can see as I've been scanning through this.
There's more on impact at the end, but that's the snapshot. I don't have like metrics yet because we are still working on it. So I try to talk about impact like in a different way.
This is a great title for competitive research. This is a great topic of research.
I'm scrolling through this case study here, and I don't know that I have any feedback. So Florencia, one of the things I do behind the scenes is that as we consume these different case studies, I have a list of the like the best case studies that we have reviewed along the way, so I can reference them to other folk. When you make the transition away from Figma and into a published application of some kind, this is 100% going to make that list. You're doing so many things well here. Your storytelling is fantastic. Your imagery to text ratio is phenomenal. You have a CTA at the bottom dedicated to transitioning the user to the next case study. Like, you're doing everything correctly here. This is fantastic.
It's really clean looking too.
What do you think of the impact section at the end, or key results? And
is this that section right here?
No, that's final design. So there.
Impact change. Okay, cool.
As I said, I don't have like percentage metrics because it still hasn't launched yet. So I talked about other ways, other impacts or outcomes.
I would hazard that this is the best version of that without having numbers on it. And I do think that numbers makes everything a little bit more real feeling. So if you were targeting a UX role, I think that you're speaking the UX language. I think if you wanted to go into more senior UX roles or kind of jump into product roles, adding those numbers will bridge that gap and take you just a little bit farther.
Okay. So I could talk about more potential, like, for example, business impact and outcomes. I talk potentially because like what we expect to reach. In fact, that's.
And so these are all good. If you can just quantify them, it becomes even better, right? That's the key, is the quantifying of the value. Now there's always a limit. Like, you can do too much of anything. So I don't think you need to say like, 5% customer satisfaction retention leads to 50% something else. which needs to fit. Like you can over quantify and over promise. But I would say like, yeah, if you can attach a value to that, I think that it even shows a little bit more strategy thinking. But I'm gonna take a moment, just scroll back up. That this is exactly the kind of title that we're talking about when we say competitive research is a cool title, but is not super value. Instead, lessons from 20 banking apps is a way better title for a competitive research section because it outlines exactly what happened and also starts to talk about the benefits. What a better hook. That's like a great storytelling point in there. So things like that, which is as a designer, I look at this, I'm like, oh, that is competitive research. I understand that completely. Someone who's not a designer will look at this and they may not know the word competitive research, but they can still see the value that's happening here. And so you may want to seed competitive research somewhere inside this paragraph just for the sake of those recruiters or people who are not able to understand the actual value or what competitive research is because they don't understand the roles that they hire for. But beyond that, like that's incredible. That's really good.
Hey, Tim, I've got something odd. So Florence, I've moved on from the case study because I have no value to add. You're killing it. I have taken the Figma file and I've added it to my list of like things I want to refer users to in the future. I'm discovering that nowhere on your website does it really have your name. You've got on your homepage, it says Florencia, but I'm fearful of a hiring candidate or hiring manager having 40 resumes open and not knowing which one is you. I'm also noticing, like, Tim, how would you adjust the title of the page in the tab? How might you modify that? Because I'm contemplating if we should see her name in there.
Yes. So some people have tabs that are on the side and some people have tabs that are on the top. And the problem with this is that people who do tabs on the top, for some reason, just have so many tabs that you can never tell what your top tabs are. And what then becomes valuable is having a recognizable symbol and then usually seeding your name and then the project, or at least like your name and then what it's about. And that's one way to be memorable. For people who are on the side, though, it's also true. I go back and forth about whether it should be like the name. So whether this should be like, so, you know, this should obviously say your name, something like design for marketing partners - your name, lead with that outcome. I'm never sure if it should be name, then the outcome, or outcome, then name. And I think it depends on your personal preference in some cases, that you just have to lean on having a recognizable brand that when people are on your website, they will remember parts of your website. Wow, we didn't even, where is it?
That's the work section. I've got these two projects, and then I've got some project snapshots because I didn't make a case study for every single project, and some of them weren't really worth it to make a case study, but I still want to show that I work for different industries because, as I said, I've been 4 years and a half for a design agency. So I need to show, I guess, how do we call it? Versatility or something.
Okay.
Like
Finally something we can give some feedback on. If you have two work sections, it will probably increase the user, like how hard it is for the user to understand where they are. It's a little bit more standard to have a button here that you click and it scrolls you to a selected work section. And that is good practice because it helps the user feel grounded and that they're not lost. However, I would love to see your version of this as you work on it, because I'm sure it is for a good reason. And maybe in practice, you'll have some good insights for how it works. I also think this is a really good section. I think it might actually be
this is like
stronger.
a whole page, in fact, because the homepage
Might be stronger than this one too.
I put the most important ones in the homepage, and then here's like a list of project snapshots. For example, this one doesn't have a case study, but I still made a snapshot or a summary. That's a personal project.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I see the case. Great work with this. Excited to help you with this on Framer at all. If you want any help, maybe you'll be able to do it without any issues. beware of the Figma import tool. The Framer has a tool
Yeah.
that they do for Figma importing. It works sometimes, and most of the time I just rebuild it from scratch. Maybe it's improved though. It's been like a year and a half since I used that tool for the last time I tried it. So, but just keep an eye out for that.
Okay, thank you.
I've got nothing else for this site. It's great.
Thank you.
Florencia, really appreciate the time. Appreciate you hanging out with us.
Yeah, I appreciate your time and all the feedback.
Well, folks, we are at the end of our 2-hour session. We will be hanging out briefly a little bit longer so I can vent about Figma Schema. If you are new here, we do this every Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, though this time slot may change come 2026. So you've got some time, but we will likely modulate our time an hour here or there. We'll figure it out. Everything that we've done today has been recorded and streamed on YouTube. I'll add a link to the chat if anybody wants to subscribe. You will get updates to all of the previous live streams on there as well, but also Tim and I are supposedly making content. We'll be adding those on there as well. Tim, any final words?
As always, everyone, we appreciate you being here. We do this to genuinely just trying to help the community. So we do our best to give our insight. We want to work with you guys as partners, essentially, and as collaborators. If you have any feedback on the session, or if you felt like anything was too harsh, please let us know. We're not trying to do any roasting. We're just trying to help people discover ways to improve their situation and accomplish their goals. And everyone who participates in the chat, we appreciate you. Everyone who doesn't participate in the chat, we appreciate you just a little bit less. And everyone who comes and puts themselves on the stream, thank you for being brave and being on stream and showing off your work for all of us, because that takes a lot of work. So thanks, everyone.